This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express Monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Everyone, welcome to this week's Pod. This is the show for the week of June 17th, 2024. And this is what's going on in our Disney World today, Phil. And it is a puzzle as the podcast host, I don't know. I don't have a title. I don't know what to call it, but I got to put it all together, right? Because we've got a lot of stuff that's been kind of hanging around. So we got to weave these threads together. Your 60-day mark for your trip is come and gone. Yep. You made a post about it in Discord. I've completely ignored it because I want to find out about it on the show and make comments as you come. Yep. And unfortunately, a lot of our vacations now are basically the same with some little bits of extras here and there. So there's really not too much to criticize you about because it's another Disney vacation. We're all going to have fun. So we're going to talk about that. Obviously, since before Drew came on last week, we want to thank Drew again for coming on. He was an awesome guest. Communicore opened up. So now Epcot's kind of done as Test Track goes down.
I know.
We'll talk about that.
It was complete for a week.
1 week. One glorious week. So we're going to talk about that. And then we've got our engagement or the resort ranking two-parter that we're wrapping up with our own conclusions. The community came in, and we're going to talk about the differences. And then we've got the DBC engagement from 3 years ago.
Something like that.
Sitting on that for about Disney Springs, Fantasy Springs out in Tokyo, and what we want to see in a new land. So maybe we'll go through that pretty quickly, but we want to wipe this one clean and kind of get it off the book. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, Phil.
Yeah.
So this show's probably going to go long because that's what we do here, I guess. Yeah. So sit back, get a drink. Hopefully it's a long drive for you, and we'll get started. So, Phil, remind everybody when your trip is and what's going on with it.
Yeah, so our trip this is the one that I'm taking with my two youngest kids only. So it's me and the two kids, the three of us. It will officially start on Saturday, August 10th, and we will fly home on Monday, August 19th. There are two components of it. The first 6 nights are at Walt Disney World, and then we have a 3-night cruise on Royal Caribbean.
Sweet.
So we just hit as Jason mentioned, the 60-day mark for the Disney portion of it, which is when you can make reservations and that sort of stuff. There's less to do for the cruise.
It's not as exciting anymore, right?
Yeah.
It used to be exciting. It's not.
It definitely used to be. I don't know if it's just when the kids were younger or we were newer to Disney and there was tons of things we wanted to do and dining we wanted to do. Now it's where do you want to eat? They're I don't know. I don't really care. Pick something so it's we did make a few reservations, but it definitely wasn't in the olden days where you had to get up at 6 a.m. and you were pumping your fist when you got that hard to get one and stuff.
So today we're recording this on Monday, the 17th, and that's usually when the Disney Dish came out, and they usually record on the Thursdays the week prior. Yeah. So, Phil, did you get a chance to listen to that today?
I did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So one of the points was how there's a lot of restaurants that are not being filled.
Yeah.
So at this point, and we've talked about that before, there's a myriad of reasons, right? We're not here to figure that out. We'll let smart people do that. But the result is reservations are easier to get.
Yeah.
Right? So you might not find that perfect 5:30, 6 o'clock dinner reservation, but you can easily get a 7 or an 8 or a 4:30 or a 3:30 or what have you. And I don't know, with the costs going way high or the prefix menus that are in there that force you to go high and force you not to maybe eat the way you want to eat. Yeah. There's less excitement about dining just in the Diz community as a whole.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, do you get that vibe? Because on Twitter or any kind of the message boards, there's always tips and tricks on how to get reservations in the new restaurants and have you eaten here before and all this other stuff. And we got plenty of that stuff going on Discord too, but it's okay, whatever. And looks great. Maybe I'll think about it, but yeah, I kind of get what you feel. It's
it's definitely not like in the past. I still think people eating out is still a key part of vacations and people get excited about it. And if you still have younger kids, I think character meals and stuff are still a big thing. I know for us, that's not as big of a thing. And as I mentioned, I'm going out with the 2 kids, but by the time we get there, my youngest will be 10. So I'll technically, while they're kids, they're Disney adults.
A Disney adult.
So it basically took any buffet, any prefix, any of that, like kind of right off.
It's gone.
We weren't going to really consider that. So,
I mean, that's a good point. We talked about that before. Not to totally derail it. I mean, we're right before we hit record. Like, this is going to be a long show. How much time do you want, Phil? Oh, how much time are you talking, Jason, over me? But like, I mean, that's an excellent point, because between the ages of like 10 and 21, what are you going to do with those quote unquote Disney adults where you can't go out and enjoy the finer things like a tequila tasting or a wine tasting or enjoying a nice meal with a glass of wine and kind of relaxing when you have a 12-year-old? You can't do that. And you're right. The character meals, I still like character meals. I would love to go to them, but again, I'm paying $100 a head at this point.
And part of it's also just my kids aren't as into it, because I even asked them. I was like, with 1900 Park Fair opening, I was like, oh, they have some fun characters there. Would you guys like to go there? And then they're like, no, not really. Like,
what do they want to do then?
So the main thing that we booked was actually not a dining thing, because tours also opened up for us.
Right, I saw that.
And so we did book one tour, which was the Starlight Safari that they do at Animal Kingdom Lodge, where you leave from Kidani Village. They pick you up in one of the like safari jeeps and drive you around kind of the lodge property, but they give you like night vision goggle type things, so you can see the animal in the dark and stuff. And actually, for some reason, I didn't think this one would be as hard to get as other tours, because it's like every night, twice a night, like at the lodge. It's not at the park and stuff. But I was going to do it our first night, and they didn't have any availability left, so we're actually doing it our second night. So
what's the cost of that?
So that is, if I remember right, $89 a person.
So would you rather get cool night goggles, drive around and look at animals, or go eat subpar buffet food and see Piglet in the Magic Kingdom?
Yeah. So
I mean, to me, that's a clear choice.
Yeah, I mean, at least for the ages my kids are, I mean, they're super like excited. But when I told them there was like night vision goggles, they're like, oh my god, we got to do this, like that type of thing. So I
mean, you're motivating me to book at least one of these like toured experiences, like behind the scenes or the Rhino tour that you did, or like this one. I definitely want to start experiencing some of these things.
Yeah, we don't like go overboard and book a million things, but it's like each trip we try to do kind of one different thing, unique thing, whether it's a tour. And we did book a couple ADRs. Honestly, I don't think we had to book them at 60 days out, but we did just to kind of fill the spreadsheet up, I guess. So the one thing that I was talking about with my son, he was really kind of intrigued by the steakhouse in Canada, Les Celaires. So we have that booked for our Epcot day. We're doing it at like 3:00 in the afternoon, so it kind of feels like that would be a good break from the heat and kind of get into the cool cellar.
Are you going to do like, where's your vacation then? If you're doing a 3:00 pretty expensive and hefty meal at 3, are you going all day or going in late?
No, so that day we're definitely going in late. Like we'll get there like 11 or 12 o'clock, maybe grab a snack, and then like this will be our main meal, and then we have the deluxe evening hours.
Okay, so you're definitely not doing an all day type of thing. You're starting late. Okay, awesome.
And then the other ones we booked is actually for the day after that, which is our off day, where we have Sanaa booked for lunch because we're staying at Kidani Village.
Wonderful.
Wanted to do that one day. And then we're going to go over to Disney Springs. I really want to see Dreams That Soar, the drone show. The one place my kids always seem to want to go to is Enzo's Hideaway, which is like one place nobody ever talks about, but my kids love it. So we booked to have dinner there. Initially I booked it for 6 p.m. and then afterwards we'd go over and see the drone show.
Right.
I've already made a change since then.
One of many.
Yeah. So if you hadn't seen, Summer House at the Lake announced that they're doing viewing areas for the drone show. So what we're going to do is actually move my Enzo's Hideaway earlier to 5, and we'll kind of do like appetizers, like kind of first course type thing there. And then we have Summer House on the Lake booked for 7:30 for the drone show viewing, and we'll do like desserts and drinks and stuff like that there. So kind of a progressive dinner, I guess.
How are you feeling about, because you went down with your son, just him, a couple months ago, and it was just like a down and back, right? Like there was no really thought to it. You just kind of did some things and you sprinted. You've got only 2 kids this time and no wife. How are you feeling about like I am doing a full on Disney vacation plus a cruise with like just me and 2 kids?
A little anxious.
I would be too.
I mean, part of it, obviously, Disney, we know it's kind of easy and we're going to take it easy. So we're also excited about it. There's some new things that people haven't seen and stuff like that. I think in some ways the cruise I'm a little more anxious about, even though we have like very little planned. Sure. But it's just like keeping track of the kids because last time we were on a cruise, my son went off kind of on his own and, just making sure that everyone's busy and having fun. But also I know where they are at least.
Well, I mean, like, are you comfortable enough? Like, let's say your off day or you get back at like 10, kids are beat and they go to sleep. Are you okay like leaving them alone in their hotel room while you go grab like a snack from like the front desk somewhere or something else like that? Or do you like I need to hang back and be with
I think at this point I need to hang back. I think if it was just my son, I'd be okay, but with the younger one there, he's not at the point where I think he could watch her and stuff like that. Like if my oldest was going, she's 15, I would obviously be totally fine.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
right?
With these two, I don't think so. So hopefully though, the plan is that we'll have I'll have some adult beverages in the room that I can go out on.
You got to prepare,
and so yeah, I'll be a little prepared and stuff like that.
Because I'm thinking like if I were in that instance now, my 2 youngest are 6 and 9, which is I'm not leaving my 6-year-old alone anywhere.
Yeah.
But like my kids are basically all set like 3-ish years behind yours. So if I go +3 on 9 and 13. I might be comfortable with my kids going there, but they'd probably destroy the hotel room before I get back. And this is me running up.
I mean, we'll see how it goes. Like if there's a need or if I'm like, daddy needs a break, like maybe we'll figure it out and I'll talk myself into it. But as of now, the plan is to not do, and I think we will, for the most part, the plan is to have later evenings and kind of sleep in most of the days. So we'll be out and stuff like that. So maybe it'll be, hey, I'm going down to pick up breakfast or something like that. You guys stay in the room. Like maybe
they'll watch cartoons or something like
something
that.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Okay, so you said you had 3 ADRs. You got Le Cellier, you got Sanaa, and you've got your Disney Springs, whatever that turns out to be, right? If you don't change it anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm really stoked for you seeing the drone show. I'm going to miss it, but hopefully it's being well received. They're probably going to continue it in some fashion.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I definitely think it's a test, for future things, whether it means more things at Disney Springs, whether it means they'll bring it into the parks or something like that. But this isn't the last thing we'll see from drones.
No, I don't think so either. So you've got 6 full days in the parks, right? You got your arrival day, which you're doing some stuff, and then your departure day where you're trying to get out and get to the port. And you got 1 day off day. Like, give me a quick rundown of how you're doing things.
Yeah. So Saturday, we land at MCO kind of mid-afternoon. It's like just before 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
We'll travel to the resort. We looked into like a million different ways of like what was going to be the best way to get from the airport to the resort, but then also knowing we have to get from the resort to the port. And so it actually worked out the cheapest thing is going to be to rent a car.
No kidding.
Yeah. So we're actually going to rent a car, which will be nice to have it available to us. And we'll stop, at Publix or Target or something like that, get some food and, sunscreen and stuff like that when we land. Plan for that evening is just kind of resort relaxed time, maybe go over to the Jumbo House pool and eat at the Mara and stuff, like kind of chill and rest up and stuff.
It's a vibe check day, man. I love those things. Yep.
So Sunday is our Animal Kingdom day. So the plan is, we'll see how we're doing. The thinking is to kind of get there early. We're not going to kill ourselves to get there for rope drop, but it's to get there kind of early, but with the idea of leaving, kind of 4 or 5 o'clock by then at the latest. And we have our Starlight Safari tour at 8:30 p.m. that night.
Okay, so it's like a full-on. I didn't realize that before. I don't know if you mentioned it, but that's a full-on animal day.
Yeah,
so that's kind of cool.
Very animal heavy day.
I like that. Yep.
Monday is our Epcot day. Again, we'll sleep in and get in, noonish or something like that. We have our 3 p.m. ADR at Le Cellier, and then we have our deluxe evening hours that night. We'll see how things are. Really interested to be watching wait times and stuff like that at the park now that Test Track is down and kind of how we have to think about touring and stuff. Yeah, but
I don't think you have to worry anything about that time of the year that you're going down.
yeah, I'm hoping it'll be
it's
slow
fine.
enough, and there's only so many rides there, and we want to kind of just chill out and walk around the area and make sure we take enough breaks and stuff like that.
Now, with your son being there recently, I guess, like, okay, so your trip is basically a year after your last trip.
Yeah.
But he has gone there. Is he going to demand to do different things, or is he going to be like, I don't really care because I did this X amount of weeks ago, so I'm kind of cool, and he's just going to chill and kind of go with the flow?
Yeah, the only thing he's really talked about is that, from the last trip, his new favorite ride is Mission Space, and so he knows, he's made it clear that we definitely will be riding that. So
By himself? Like, you go ahead. Dad's going to wait outside. I'm going to get some popcorn.
No, I did it with him last time too. We did it twice. We did the green side.
Okay.
So I'm assuming we'll just stick with that, and that'll be fine.
All right.
But we'll see, and we'll go through it, and obviously all the Communicore stuff and the Encanto show and all that sort of stuff will be new to us, so we'll want to see that, and kind of hit up all our favorites.
Yeah. Are you planning on spending any extra time, kind of like in World Discovery, where World Celebration, where you're just kind of like get coffee or relax, or
yeah, it'll be interesting because we didn't have a ton of time last time, so yeah, I definitely could see us, like, especially when we first get there, like whether we go on something right away if there's a short line, or if we grab snacks and a lunch or something and kind of chill out in World Celebration for a bit and kind of take it in. I could definitely see that.
Would your kids allow you to do that?
I'm really going to try to go with the flow and see what they say. I mean, I'm definitely going to want to try to fit that in at least at some point. But we'll see how it is. Sometimes they're more chill and they want to get food. Sometimes where I make plans, I'm like, okay, we're going to hit this ride and then that ride. And then all of a sudden they're like, but I'm hungry and I want this and that sort of thing. So we'll kind of see how it goes.
It might be interesting from just an experiment. I'm experimenting with your vacation, of course, is to let your kids kind of dictate where to go. Because we might be doing, we're probably booking our next trip sometime in the next 2 weeks. So we'll have a little snippet about that in the coming weeks when my mother gets down here for the summer. But I explained my checklist idea of how to tour the parks. That's going to be driven randomly and a big heavy inducement from the family influencing on what we do. So I'm curious to see if you let your kids kind of dictate the flow, because again, you've been going almost once every 6 to 8 months at this point right now. So it's not like I need to hit these heavy hitters up. I want to see what's new. I kind of want to grab this food. I just kind of want to be here. Right.
Yeah.
That type of thing.
I think that's the big thing. And that's even how when we came back, my son was like, can we do the touring like that again? Where we just kind of took it easy and weren't running around and stuff. So he definitely has the vacation and the vacation vibe. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously throughout the course of the trip, there's a few key things we want to do, but I think kind of hour by hour, minute by minute, we'll take it more by ear.
All right. So what's after Epcot?
Yeah, the only thing I thought I'd mention for Epcot is we'll play it by ear if we go see Luminous. I'm willing to give it another shot.
Oh gosh, yes, I forgot about that.
Maybe try it from Canada or something like that. I'll see how the kids are, if they're into it or not. But yeah, because my son didn't want to bother. He's like, well, you said you didn't really like it, so I don't want to bother watching it and stuff. But
look at that.
But we'll see. And then, but my daughter hasn't seen it either, so maybe she'll want to watch it and stuff like that. So maybe I'll give it another shot. But we'll see.
I think the fireworks is just really good for that show. Some of the music obviously is weak.
Yeah.
A lot of it, but I love the spectacle of the thing.
So after our Epcot is our off day, our no parks day. So for the bulk of the day, will be resort and pool time, and we have our Sanaa lunch. Then we'll head over to Disney Springs at 4-ish or something like that for our progressive dinner, and then we'll see the drone show, and then hopefully it won't be too crazy getting out of there and getting on a bus and getting back to the resort and stuff like that. So that's Tuesday. Wednesday is our Magic Kingdom day. This is the day we're hoping. The plan is, this is my daughter really wants to do this, is that we get up early and we rope drop Tiana's Bayou Adventure, assuming by then the virtual queue is gone.
Now, I don't think Tiana's Bayou Adventure is going to be rope droppable.
No,
point,
so
right?
it'll be, we'll have to see how it progresses once it's no longer a virtual queue and stuff like that.
Are you going to rope drop the rope drop?
I guess that seems to be her priority. So we might do that. Maybe we'll get in, grab something to eat, and stand by the rope near the tangled bathrooms and stuff like that. Maybe we'll do one ride beforehand and then go over there. I don't know. We'll be monitoring. Once it switches off a virtual queue, I'm sure there'll be a ton of bloggers and stuff like that tracking how rope drop and stuff works. So
you'll be able to figure that out.
So our plan is, whether it's rope drop or just early, but getting there early,
Are you going to be doing like GD Plus this day just to guarantee a GD Plus for a TBA?
So the plan is, for when we heard Tiana says going to be Genie Pluses. Right now, the plan is to get Genie Plus for our Magic Kingdom and our Hollywood Studios days.
Fair. Yep.
We weren't necessarily going to get it for Magic Kingdom, but now that Tiana's is on it, we probably will. It'll also help with a lot of other rides and kind of, not being in long lines in the heat and stuff like that. So,
I mean, like, as long as you kind of treat it like I'm going to use this to get on Tiana's easily and then pick another marquee attraction. And then like I spent, what is it probably going to be, like $80, $70-$80 for your family. Not a huge pill to swallow.
Especially because it's just the three of us.
Exactly.
And we'll go from there. But hopefully I will not be like, I got to maximize it and blah, blah, blah. It's more of like, let's get on a couple key things and skip a couple, queues that are out in the sun and stuff like that.
Well, just remind me when it's your Magic Kingdom day before. I'll just get on my phone and start texting you saying, put down your phone, put down your phone, put down your phone.
Why are you answering me?
Stop
you
it.
shouldn't answer me.
Exactly.
But the plan is to go there early, kind of do Tiana's, maybe one or two other things, maybe grab something for breakfast, something like that, and then go back to the resort for a midday break. And then go back to Magic Kingdom at 4-ish or something like that, because we have the deluxe evening hours that night as well. And we'll see another night. We'll see how we want to handle the fireworks, because we love Happily Ever After, but we hate the viewing.
Yeah.
We might try to time it because it looked pretty cool when one of the point of view videos I saw to ride Tiana's while the fireworks are going off or something like that.
Good luck with that.
Yep. So we'll see. I think we might try to do, let's take in the fireworks, but not from the front of the castle, like from somewhere else.
I think taking a midday break for your Magic Kingdom day is almost essential in today's Disney touring. Obviously, if it's your first time there, you just want to crunch everything. Yeah, sure. But that's a caveat, because I've been saying this forever. There's so many crowds that come over there like midday, like 11 to 4. Yeah. That's when people are like coming and going the most. And we did not do that our last trip, and it really felt like just too much. Right. Yeah. So I applaud you for doing that. That's a good way of doing it.
And then Thursday is our last full day. That is our Hollywood Studios day. Again, ideas to sleep in a bit and stack Genie Plus like we did last time. It was really great to walk in with having, Slinky Dog and Mickey and Minnie's or whatever in your back pocket. That's the only other dining request my son has made, is that he really wants to go to Banana Cabana again. So we're planning on doing that as our sort of like midday break meal. We'll take the Skyliner over to CBR.
He just wants to grab a beer and watch like the football game that's on TV or whatever, right? That's great.
Yeah. He really liked the burger and the wings there and stuff like that. So he wants to do that again. So I'm like, all right, if that's what you want to do. There's definitely worse things that kids could demand of us at Disney than that.
I'll take it.
So Friday is our last day when we check out. I think we're going to do breakfast at Sanaa at least that day. I've been looking at the Sanaa breakfast menu. It looks really good. It's kind of like more of like a quick service type thing versus sit down. But we'll probably do that at least our last day. And then we will drive over to the port where we will get on the cruise that evening. Obviously, we haven't been able to check in. I don't know our boarding time, but we go there Friday. Right now, we don't have any excursions booked for anything. It just goes to Nassau in the Bahamas and then their private island of Coco Cay. And then on Monday, we disembark. We actually booked an excursion for the last day, which what it does is you put your bags and stuff on the bus. It's going to take us to Kennedy Space Center.
Oh.
So we'll do that for a good chunk of the day, and then it'll bring us right to MCO.
Oh, that's kind of awesome.
So it's sort of an excursion plus transportation back to the airport in one. So that's what we're doing our last day. And then we have kind of a late, like an 8 p.m. flight, but comes back to our local airport. So it won't be too bad, but
that's a whirlwind tour.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. That's kind of awesome. I'm looking forward to learning more as you kind of narrow things down. I like to see how things change, but I don't think things are going to be changing too much because 2 of your days are locked in because of extra evening hours.
Yeah. So which park we do which day is pretty set. I think it's just going to be if something else comes up, once we find out more about the plans for Tiana's and stuff like that, but I don't know how much it'll change.
Well, I mean, that's again, this is go back to the beginning of the conversation where I rudely interjected my opinion to all of this. Is that like planning has gotten so different than it was. And I know half of this is like the newness of planning, new father, new family, second timer going type of stuff. And this is now old hat. But like, I don't think there's that much to plan for anymore because Disney over the last 5 years, or at least Disney World, has been the same, other than maybe adding an attraction or two.
Right.
But adding attractions just gives you something to be online for. There's no better dining, different dining tips, different ways of touring the parks. And I think you're doing it the right way by adding some of these extra tours that you haven't done before, which adds like a different way to end the night at Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
I think that's completely awesome. I'm definitely doing that on our Animal Kingdom day because that seems like a perfect finish to do that. Hopefully it's still available and I get it when I want to go. So that's good.
So that's our plan.
I like it. We should start keeping track. We've only been doing this for 4 years. We've never done this, and hopefully we're doing it for 4 more or 10 more. And we should have like the initial spreadsheet at 60 days and then compare it to what you actually did and a percentage of how much it lines up. Like, I was able to, my trip is 80% of what I planned it or whatever, right? Kind of do like a Disney vacation index type of thing or something. I think that'd be really cool. That's a lot of work, but I think it'd be kind of neat to kind of check that out. All right. So one of the other things that we want to talk about, not to push on because we're also like 10 minutes
behind schedule already,
which is fine. I expected this. One of the big things that happened, goodness, was it 1.5 weeks ago or so? I can't remember the exact date. Communicore opened up. So the last walls that came down before the test track walls came back up. But that was the transformation. The transformation is complete. I put a quick list of documents to get a document together just to remind us of what was promised way back when and what actually came and what actually got delayed. Obviously, a lot of the COVID stuff happened. CEO was changed and then changed back. So, a lot of stuff kind of did this. A lot of people, there's a lot of people out there, Phil. I think we as a podcast like to kind of filter through the nonsense that gets posted and the vitriol and the complaining and the whining that kind of goes on. I think unfairly sometimes, but people complain about the time it took for this to complete, which is a fair criticism, I suppose. But again, COVID happened and that added to some things. Plans got changed.
Until like hopefully 15, 20 years or whatever from now, somebody writes a book. Had like access to the, like whether it's Chapek or somebody, like here's really what happened. Like we're never going to know like how much, Disney had to take on so much debt and stuff. Like we just don't know how much was really and truly impacted. So
but again, I don't think you should shade your impression or of what's there now and say, well, it took 5 years. This is all we got. Let's like forget about it. It took 5 years. That's said and done. Let's comment on what we see now and just ignore that it took for long, right?
Especially when people focus on just like I guess the last thing is Communicore Plaza. And I've heard multiple vloggers and stuff like when they're reviewing Communicore Plaza saying, I can't believe this took 5 years. I'm like, well, they didn't only work on this for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like this just happened to be the last thing they finished. So, you kind of have to take it as a whole.
And the other thing, so Communicore Hall is basically a Fab Five meet and greet. Is it all Fab Five or is it just Mickey? I know Mickey. No,
it's just it's there. Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy. Just the three.
Okay. There is a Festival Favorites quick service booth, which I haven't seen any reviews for the food. I don't know if they're serving food.
Yeah, so right now they're doing sort of Encanto themed food with arepas and stuff like that, which has
that's the only thing
largely gotten fairly positive reviews. The other thing that I'm intrigued by is currently, I guess they have 6 taps open with beer and cider, but apparently there's at least 12 other taps there they're not currently using. So it could turn into like kind of like a fun beer hall kind of vibe.
Well,
place.
I mean, a lot of the biggest thing that I see, like folks like Tom Bricker, who's gotten a little bit jaded in the last couple of years, and that might correspond with him having kids and having sleepless nights. We'll balance those things out. But like one of the criticisms is that there's this big giant open hall that has it looks very empty and just like tables and chairs kind of placed randomly throughout it. It looks terrible, right? Like you spend all this time and money. I mean, it looks beautiful for an empty open space with tables, right? But I suspect when festivals come back in a couple months that this is going to have stuff in it. Like, the Odyssey has like Santa in there.
Yeah, it is kind of just interesting that they opened it when they decided to not have a festival for the summer. Mm-hmm. I did read some insiders or just what people are hearing is that they kind of almost did that on purpose because they want to see how the flow goes. and kind of where they need more support and where things. So I definitely think we need to wait until at least, the Food and Wine Festival gets going and we see what they really do with the place. At the end of the day, having a big hall that's heavily air conditioned in the middle of the summer is not the worst thing.
No, like, I mean, I remember back in 2019, the last time I went with my mother, us and my wife and I, and it was 2019. So my youngest was like a year and a half. We wanted to go on Soarin'. We didn't want to drag the stroller and her on the thing. She hung out in the old building that was there. It was awful.
Yeah.
And I felt bad, but now it's kind of nice and whatever. In any case, a lot of people complain because that's what they see now, and that's all they're reacting to.
Yeah.
You don't have any forward thought, which is rather frustrating. That being said, then there's the stage, the Encanto stage. That's what everybody sees the pictures of. I love the look of that space.
Mm-hmm.
It's very wide open. It has a lot of. It's going to be. I think it's going to be really cool at night when they start putting other bands and other entertainment venues in there, especially with 12 taps of beer flowing and having a good time. A lot of people are complaining that it's open and there's no shade. I don't really think if you had like a big giant like tented shaded area in that part, I think that would take away from the.
I don't know. I hope there is a way they can do that, because that is my one big fear, is that they're only doing the Encanto show during the day, and I just fear that people aren't going to stop to watch it because of like direct sunlight and just feeling like it's too sunny and stuff. So I don't know what they could do, but I'd like to think there's some way they could get a little shade in that area so that the viewing area for people. But
I'm just saying, like a big thing that's kind of shaded would kind of cut it off from the vibe of the whole place. So shade's always nice, but I think that's another overtly unnecessary criticism, I suppose. But we can take a look at it. That being said, I want to run down some of the things that were promised and what we actually got and how long it took to get them. Hopefully this is accurate, Phil. I kind of looked on multiple sources for this. But this first article was published back in 2019, where we had like the first reveal of a lot of the Epcot changes coming up. The first one that we heard about was in the UK, Mary Poppins and Cherry Tree Lane. That got canceled. That was the meet and greet, and it kind of like a little was like it's rumored to have like a spinner ride in there type of thing. Nice little area. We were supposed to get in 2020 Harmonious. Obviously, that was pushed back to October of 21, so we got a delay. That was Epcot Forever. Also removed in April of 2023. So RIP. They also promised in 2020 Remy, which got delayed and opened in October of 21. They were also stated that in January of 2020, the Beauty and the Beast sing along and the new Canada Far and Wide both opened on time in January of 2020. And then Wondrous China was supposed to open also. I don't know if it was supposed to open 2020 in January or sometime that year, but that's been postponed indefinitely. So we'll see how that goes. Also, there was discussions about Spaceship Earth, a refurb, adding a couple extra scenes, updating it a little bit. That was canceled, and then
that went through a couple of iterations.
Yeah.
The latest one was that it was going to be closed for like 2 years and be this whole big change to like storytelling and stuff like that. Every now and then you still hear that they're going to do something eventually because the ride needs some maintenance.
Yes.
But we'll see what ultimately happens.
So the next big one that I think this is the biggest thing that people kind of talk about is the festival pavilion.
Yeah.
So this is going to be some 3-tiered item that was basically right on the entry point into World Celebration, overlooking the lagoon, and essentially it looked really pretty in the pictures. No one really knew what was going to be in it, other than it had some greenery, and it was a viewing spot for the fireworks show, Harmonious. And from what I understand from several different people talking about it, it was mostly there for corporate events.
Yep.
And the Stargate was off center just for that viewing, and it was designed to be viewed from that area.
Yeah.
So not only was it designed for the very rich and the very few that got to see it, it was off center to all the other plebs that were all going to be lining up.
Yeah, I guess
watching it.
It was partly off center because they used the old dock from Illuminations, but that also meant that it would be kind of more aligned to where this festival center was. So all the other areas that had corporate areas, like the current ones that you could rent out, they weren't going to be in great spots, but this new one was going to be like
prime real estate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So people are complaining about. I'm like, I don't think if that got built, and let's say it had nothing to do with the fireworks show, just got built, I don't think anybody was ever going to be going into that thing. I think that was going to be basically closed to like there would probably be like a Club 33 pass, maybe a small DVC lounge
Yeah.
/ closet in there that
I think
you
it
can see
was
people
meant,
go
at
in
least some of it was meant to be used as like the festival center. So when there were things going on, like kind of what they used to use at the Wonders of Life Pavilion when they were having stuff there. Like, I don't know. I think some of it
I
would
don't
have been
think-
open, but I don't think people would be getting the full experience. And I could see a lot of complaining a year after, like, really, this is what you built, and like,
Well, I mean, think about it operationally. People like you could walk under it, like it looked like
Yeah.
it was an elevated platform. How many people per hour can you get up and down on elevators
Yeah.
and stairs? Right, not very many. And frankly, I do not want to be in an elevator with 7
Yeah.
to 10
I
other
think it was just
people. in a
part of it
park.
was just the most probably striking architectural part
It looked
of the
great.
plan, and it looked very Epcot-y.
Yes.
So I think people were excited for that element of it, but we didn't really know the details of it, and sometimes not knowing is exciting, right? So I think
of course.
people's minds are like, "Oh my god, it was going to be amazing," but we don't really know what it was.
And that's why people complain about Communicore Hall. It's
Yeah.
like it's just another version of it. It's not. It's all samey kind of.
Yeah.
Or this was brand new. Also in 2019, from the article on this is just from a Disney news article, like literally from Disney.com. World Celebration, Dreamers Point, which we got in December of 23. Lush Gardens, it also listed. That's a quote. Lush Gardens. Maybe we got Lush Gardens. I don't know, but we got something.
Yeah.
With some lights. December of 23 that kind of sometimes work. And they had made a mention of a wishing tree. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that was ever elaborated on.
There was an image of it where it was like a light up tree, like kind of looked like a willow tree type thing. And I guess it was supposed to
remember that now.
mimic the wishing tree that Walt had back in Marceline on the farm there, that he carved and things, and like the barn, people sign their names and stuff like that. So I think it was all supposed to kind of tie into that. And I think it would have lit up and been it seemed like it would have been a cool effect. Obviously they opted for other lighting packages and we didn't get that, but
And I think that's kind of for the best, even though that's kind of cool sentimentally, but like I don't see how a big tree in that area would have worked when what they have now I think is really awesome.
Yeah.
And they also had interactive fountains and stuff like that they cut. And I'm still a proponent that fountains in that area would have taken away a lot from those visuals. That being said, World Nature, they mentioned the Journey of Water. We got that in October of 23. And also January of 2020, Awesome Planet, which opened on time in January of 2020. World Discovery, they mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy of May of the launched Guardians of the Galaxy. They didn't put a date on it at that point, but they said it was coming. And then in the winter of 2019, so this was like a couple months later, they're saying Space 220 opened, and I was reminded that we were all waiting for Space 220 to open, and it kept getting delayed and delayed.
Yeah.
There was like a new chef, blah blah blah. There's all this other stuff.
I remember we kept thinking like, oh, it might be open for this trip, and then it was like,
No.
oh, it'll be definitely open for my next trip. It's like, oh, well, maybe it'll be open for like. I was like,
my wife and I managed to get on it when we went down for our adult only trip. It was delayed to around September of 21. So we got on. We managed to get there in. That was summer of 22. So it was open for almost a full year by the time we got on it. That's right, because I remember going down during Labor Day and it wasn't open yet with our kids. And then of course for the 50th, they mentioned this for the 50th, the Play Pavilion is coming to Epcot, which has been canceled and never spoken of again. And then a year later, this is another update from November of 21. And they're referencing Guardians of the Galaxy's announced for summer of 2022, which it did. So it came out in May of 2022. So they were on target with that. So for all those that think Disney constantly delaying doesn't know how to build things, they predicted that 8 months out. So they were good with that one. In an Orlando ParkStop.com article of March of 21, there was rumors. That's when the rumors of the festival center was starting to go away. So I don't know if it was exactly in March, but it was right around that time frame, which maybe about a year and a half, 2 years after it was announced in D23 in 2019. So if you remember, this is kind of coming out of that first really nasty winter of COVID, and things start like changing. And then in November of 21, a full year later, they started taking down the concept art for it. So I don't know what the reference. This is Disney Tourist Blog. They said last summer in November. So I don't know if that meant summer of 21 or summer of 2020. I suspect it was the summer of 21 where they started kind of erasing that from all known art. And then we're going to skip a year later in September of 2022. They mentioned a new nighttime spectacular for 2023 without a name, which turned out to be Luminous, that came in December of 2023. They mentioned the Figment meet and greet, which came out a year later in September of 23. So they were kind of accurate with that. So Communicore Hall was never really announced. It was just kind of, maybe it's just me, but it was like it just kind of started appeared. And
at some point they had new concept art that sort of had it, and I think that might have been around that time they announced the names for the areas, like World Celebration and World Nature and World Discovery and stuff like that. But yeah, it never was like formally like, we're not doing this, we're doing this. It was just like, and here's like the new video, like update or like new concept art, and it was like, oh, that's different. Like,
that's new. You could have announced this a little bit, a little better than Blue Sky. So that was kind of like the history of like cancellation changes within time. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that was like 3 years or 4 years of like what's coming. So now that we've seen all the stuff that's come and gone and everything is complete, what is your biggest disappointment that we do not have?
Yeah, so the easy one, I think, is to say the UK Pavilion, just because it would have been an expansion, not a replacement. I think anytime you see that, and also seeing the end result of what they did in France, I think that like really transformed that pavilion. So if they kind of had that same impact on the UK Pavilion, I think that would have been great. And Epcot needs more capacity and more kind of C and D ticket attractions. Whether that would have been the perfect attraction, it still would have been more capacity. And we're kind of seeing that now with Test Track down, just one ride being down, how that impacts everything else and stuff. Beyond that, though, obviously it has kind of the biggest upside, but also maybe the biggest downside if they didn't do it well. I was really intrigued by the Spaceship Earth overall. Yeah, I just thought that's such the icon of the park. It's such a wonderful ride that if they gave it the TLC it really needed and kind of like the new evolution of that attraction, I think it could have been really cool. They also could have totally messed it up and like made it like not great. Sure. So I was a little like cautiously optimistic, I guess, but that was the one that probably had me the most intrigued.
I mean, at this point, we're not going to see it until next decade. Right?
Oh yeah.
So like, let's say it's a 2-year refurb or an 18-month refurb, right? They're not taking down Spaceship Earth with Test Track being down, right? Test Track's going to be a year-ish, right? Next summer, maybe. So at that point, they're not going to want to take down the icon of the park right after Test Track's going to go. They're going to want to let that go. So I don't think so. 2025, I think that bleeds into 2026, when it might be the earliest possible time they do that. Especially, actually, no, they might even probably. I would have to guess that they put that off maybe to 2027, 2028 when they take it down, because a lot of other stuff is going to be constructed all across property, and they might want to start not having more walls back up at Epcot again.
And we know they've done that permit for the Imagination Pavilion and with Inside Out doing gangbusters, fueling rumors for maybe that going into there and stuff. So maybe they want to do that before they do Spaceship Earth. Who knows?
Yeah, I want to have a whole show talking about how Inside Out 2 is like beat Mario for its first weekend.
I know.
And it's crazy, but to me, that's all theories about movies and family going and storytelling and stuff like that. And we're at 40 minutes right now, so we're gonna move on. My biggest disappointment is really the UK Pavilion. I know Spaceship Earth. I still love it. And you know what? As an OG Epcot fan, you still have that one to kind of hold on to for a little bit longer to kind of give you those vibes. All the other things like the Festival Pavilion, to me, I don't really care about that building. That didn't hold anything to me. Got World Celebration. Love how that turned out. We got all the Journey of Water stuff. The movies, take it or leave it. But like, I think it has to be the Mary Poppins thing, because we were just talking about this on Discord like an hour before we recorded. I love the France Pavilion. I love the songs, the sights, the smells, and getting into Remy's, and I just love that whole vibe. That I think if they kind of duplicated, like kind of walking back there in the UK, where they're right next to each other with International Gateway in between, like walking into the park and just seeing two immersive lands to your left and to your right. Because if you go to your left, you've got the UK and you've got Canada, and now you're like in the hustle and bustle of getting to the rest of the park already, right? But to kind of put like beef up that area, because the Canadian Pavilion is pretty cool. Like you go back there and there's like waterfalls and all some cool stuff. That would just kind of really solidify that corner of the park. Yeah. And I kind of really, I really miss that. That would have, I miss what could have been, I guess.
Yep.
So that would be my answer. So now we already talked about like Test Track closing. Like today's the first day that the things are up. So we have two questions. One, this impacts does not impact you because you're not rope dropping Epcot. But with it closed, does your Epcot strategy change in the morning? Does it emphasize one thing versus the other? How are you thinking about Epcot if you're going down and like hitting it commando style?
Yeah, I think it even puts more focus on how crowd levels are. Because one thing I was watching wait times today, and obviously it's the first day, we need to track it. But like, the late morning, like noonish or whatever, it was like you were seeing Soarin' and Mission Space at like
30 plus. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot. And so I'm like, well, if this is going to make everything a little bit more crowded, does it add more value to Genie Plus? Because now you can actually use it at more than like 2 or 3 rides. So I'll have to see kind of the impact. But yeah, I mean, we saw Remy was up to like 120 or something like that today. It got real high. So I don't know. I mean, but then it also, it came down, and like after a while, Frozen was at like 45 minutes or something. Like, so I think it's just, we're really going to have to track it. And I think it's going to be one of those things where it just makes the extremes more, where on those crowded days, you might want to think about getting Genie Plus, where maybe in the past you wouldn't. On the slow days, there's only 2 things really to hit. And like, if you have to wait 45 minutes for each of them, so be it. But
I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy right now is still on a virtual queue.
It's still a virtual queue. Yeah, that was one thing
surprising.
I know Matt was speculating maybe the timing could be right to take that down, because now something else that can absorb crowds to be in that queue. But obviously they didn't do that.
I know if I were running park ops, I would like Test Track to come down, see how that impacts the rest of the park. Mm-hmm. Because I speculate that they don't want that to be on standby just yet, because the line would be out of the building at that point, and there's no shade and everything else over there. I wouldn't be surprised if they let this go for another 2 weeks, and then they start saying, okay, it goes on to standby, because they want to start absorbing all the crowds. Like don't want to see, people don't want to see a mile long line for Remy's early in the morning, because that's just like a dozen more cast members that you need just to manage crowds and people and everything.
I think it was Blog Mickey had like a video of the queue, and it was
that's what I'm talking
snaked all over the place. Yeah, like you said, need more cast members just to manage the line, which nobody likes.
Yep. So that's an extra budget. So I wouldn't be surprised if that would be the main factor of driving to a virtual queue. So shove everybody to that building, because you don't get as many boarding groups early on in the day, so it doesn't absorb as many people as it can through the virtual queue, because people might get the virtual queue, but maybe 80% of the people show up and they get late, and VQ there is notoriously soft. Like, if you have it, you could come back anytime during your day and get on, right? So people might get it early, like, we know we can get on in 3 hours from now, so the building stays empty, and so that can absorb more crowds. I think they would do that. Also want to point out that new friend of the show, Drew the Disney Dude. We're just going to make him a friend of the show. He's a friendly guy. But he's been awesome on social media with us. But he had a picture from Test Track. He's going to be now covering that, which is a brave man covering a pre-built building and no way of looking in. So I look forward to how he does that, especially with potentially Big Thunder Mountain going down and the Animal Kingdom stuff going. I think he's going to be kind of like on the scene reporter type of thing. We're going to see if we can get him to come on like once every 30, 40 days to kind of give us story from the beat, so to speak, type of thing. Story from the ground. I don't know. We got to come up with a better name for a segment than that.
Man on the street.
Man on the street. That's it. He's more than a man on the street. He knows what he's doing. All right. So we're very deep in this show now, and we have 2 other subjects we want to get to. Phil, we're going to have to cut something, because we decided not to do that, but now I'm looking at the time. There's no way that we can get past this. So we do need to finish our ranking, because you worked very, very hard on this. So Phil, take it away. Go over how we finished on our resort ranking. And if you don't remember, we ranked all the resorts and mostly Vive versus all the categories. You're going to go over the categories, and then we ranked them all in 2 episodes. This episode, we're going to comb through the data and see what happened with all of them. So take it away.
Yeah, so we ranked every resort based on theming, pool and amenities is one, vibe, location, dining, the rooms, and then the value. And we kind of looked at sample pricing for an existing room to kind of say everything you're getting for what you're having to spend on it. So the max and everything, we rated it on a scale of 1 to 5, 7 categories, meaning the maximum score any resort could get was 35. Mm-hmm. So I have the results here when we went through everything and ranked them all by order. Have you gone through everything? I don't want to say, hey, Jason, what do you think was number 1 if you already know?
I already know.
Okay. All right. So Our number one resort based on this with a score of 29, so 29 out of 35, was the Polynesian Village Resort.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I don't want to go to the Polynesian because of cost, the vibe there is like awesome. Even though that's one of the lowest rankings. Or no, excuse me, the pool is the lowest rankings ever. But it all got 5s.
Yep. The only thing it kind of scored low on was value, but everything else was high enough to get it into the number one spot. Then 1 point lower on that was Wilderness Lodge. I think for similar reasons, but you can find it at a better price. So I think that was one reason it scored high. 1 point lower than that, again, value helping this one out, was Animal Kingdom Lodge. Then we had Grand Floridian, the Yacht Club, and then tied for 6th was the Beach Club and Caribbean Beach. So Caribbean the Beach is our first non-deluxe resort. And that had a score of 25 out of 35.
Which is not too bad. Not too bad. I mean, it's funny. You're looking at the Animal Kingdom Lodge. The location got a 1 because it's far off, right? And transportation is nothing special to the own park that's nearby.
Yeah.
And if that was just if they built like a Skyliner to Animal Kingdom Lodge, and that just connected you to like Hollywood Studios and Animal Kingdom, that location probably would be a 4, and that would be ranked above Polynesian.
Yeah. That's the only reason it's not first, is because of location.
Yeah.
And how we viewed it, how we scored location.
But like, if you could get like non-bus transportation and non-walking transportation to at least one other park, that bumps it minimum 2 points, I think.
Yeah, and the other one we gave it a little kind of a low score was rooms, just because they're a little dated. I think if they redo them a little more modern, all the new outlets and stuff like that, that would get it up as well. So it definitely, it wouldn't take much for that to be far and away the number one.
Yep, 100%.
Not necessarily going to list them all. I think I'll go over our highest rated value resort was Art of Animation, which had 20 points out of 35. And then, not surprising, the lowest ones were the 3 all-star resorts. So I'm sure everyone's not surprised about that. Anything with our rankings that kind of surprised you? I was a little surprised just because how we vacation and how we kind of do more moderates and stuff like that so many of the deluxes scored as well as they do. But I guess it's just because of the vibe and how, even if you're not staying there, you can obviously go check them out.
Yeah, no, I mean, the only deluxe I've stayed at was Old Key West, and that's maybe why it's the lowest. I was disappointed with that. Which it was surprising with a lot of the community, because you go over the community results because they did a similar thing.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like the Poly is something that everybody talks about wanting to go to at least once. I mean, I've been there a handful of times. Just kind of eating there and just walking through, but I've never spent my time there. Again, the value is so low, but it's on a bucket list. Maybe the wife and I will stay there a night or two or something else like that and kind of spend the money for it. But Wilderness Lodge, that's on my bucket list for Christmas time. Even though I've gone the last 2 Christmases, I have not made my way over to Wilderness Lodge. So that's a thing. And then Animal Kingdom Lodge, I think you're staying there. Matt stays there. My sister, that's her home resort for DVC. Such a gorgeous result. Obviously, I think I just have to give that place props, because you just walk into it and you're just like, this is like all deluxe resorts should look like Animal Kingdom Lodge,
for sure,
in my opinion. And which is why Riviera is below Caribbean Beach Resort at 13, because it doesn't wow people for it being a Disney resort.
Yep.
It did a good job. I don't know why we're going over this individually. So what other results that you pulled out of this, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, the only things that kind of jumped out at me was Pop Century was in 19th place, scored 15 out of 35. I kind of thought that would do a little bit better. That seems to be a very popular resort and sort of almost a go-to when you just want to get down there and not spend a ton of money. One thing I was thinking was, I wonder if we did this back when there were more bubble perks, would we have given a little more? Because, before, the benefit of something like Pop was like, back then you could get in for like $120 and you got Magical Express and you got a Magic Band and you got, the advantage for Fast Pass Plus. You would have felt like you got more for your money. Now it's kind of more just a basic resort, and you got the room and you got the bus transportation, but there's not much else to it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm comparing this to other similarly priced things. You have it at $170. The next closest thing is Coronado Springs with a $50 more expensive, with a better pool and better amenities. Because Coronado Springs, we tied in the Towers restaurants, right, to that, so you got better food.
We gave them some credit for that, yeah.
Yeah, so at sub $200, your value level is pretty high, right? Because we gave Pop a 4 on value, but we even gave the rooms a 3, I think, right? Yep. No, we gave the rooms a 2. Excuse me. I can't read it all the way across. Yeah, so rooms are 2. The location of 3. You've got the Skyliner, but that doesn't pull up that the theming is pretty poor. Yeah. The pool is just it's a pool. There's really no vibe at Pop Century, right? Like that's where it loses a lot. Like
that's where a lot of the value is lost, where it you just can't compare the vibe to the deluxes and stuff.
Top 11 hotels have a vibe of 3 or higher. And the only vibe that's low is the Grand Flow. We both gave it a 3 because that's just not our speed. But for people that like that upscale kind of old money grand vacation type of thing, that vibe's probably a 5 for them, right?
Yeah.
But for us, it's not our thing. But everything else was a 4 or higher. And the only other below 11, the only other place that was low on the rankings that had a vibe of 4 or higher that wasn't up there was the Fort Wilderness Resort Cabins, because we gave it a cool vibe, if that was your thing. But we both respected that vibe, and we couldn't take that away from the campers out there. But I think actually, if you sort through vibe, that is basically the driving factor of where you are on this thing. I'm just noticing that right now. I didn't notice that earlier.
Yep.
So it makes sense, right? Because Disney resorts don't really have anything special other than their location. The Disney, what do we call it? The Disney bubble. The Disney bubble is not definable. It's a vibe feeling, right? You're in the bubble, right? And there you go. It proves it right here. So exclamation point.
There you go. So comparing it to what the community, and just kind of a quick shout out. Thank you to Herdomaniac, Mama 6, TL Madden, Doxy, Ryan W, and Wheezy for all filling out these forms and being as crazy as we are to fill out spreadsheets and stuff like this. Hopefully I did all the math correctly and trying to bring in all the scores. But some things that jumped out at me is, I think at the top it wasn't too different. The community actually ranked Animal Kingdom first with an overall score of 28.5. The Polynesian actually came in 5th, but a lot of the ones in the top were really close, kind of point wise. It was at 27.5, whereas we gave it a 29. So it's only a 1.5 different. It's just they had a lot of condensing there. So I think, overall, a lot at the top was pretty similar. I think the ones that we were much higher on than the community, one was we were actually quite a bit higher on for the Contemporary, which we actually weren't that high on. It was in 10th place, despite the location and everything. But they had it in 15th place. And then the Caribbean Beach. Excuse me. We had it in 6th place. They had it in 11th place. They were
people don't like the Skyliner. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So we, I think that's, in looking at it, it was just because I think we like the vibe and give more credit to the Skyliner than maybe others did. In the reverse direction.
Well, hold on a second. The Contemporary here, we give that vibe a 4 of the Contemporary, but the community gave it on average a 2.7. And I think that's one of the main drivers for that is we dug the vibe of the old school Disney. Didn't we talk about the nostalgia of walking in the front?
Yeah.
It's definitely a 50s, 60s, mid-century type of
it just feels quintessential Disney too.
Yeah.
That was in all the commercials from back then and stuff like that.
No, I'm with you on that one. Yeah. So I guess the community wasn't feeling that.
Yep. In the reverse direction, Riviera, we were in 13th place. They had it in 8th place, quite a bit higher than us. And then the other two that we were kind of down on that I think the community liked a bit more, and I think some of them are in the DVC community, so I think they maybe have spent more time there, but Saratoga Springs and Old Key West, we had them in 17th and 20th place, respectively. They had it in 14th and 10th. So Old Key West was probably the biggest variance to the community.
See, Old Key West, I found Old Key West has its stands out there. It has fans that are this is the best resort for, I don't know, whatever reasons. They see the theming and they like it for those purposes.
Yeah.
I see just a bunch of random condos, and that happens to be on Disney property. So No one's opinion is wrong, even though they'll like to tell me that my opinion is wrong. And shout out to Matt for his last podcast, Dis Happenings, where yet again, I'm not on the show to defend myself of my Millennium Falcon Smugglers Run take. I just want to throw that randomly in. It's very disappointed. Matt, you got to get me on your show.
But I think those were some of the big takeaways. I think it was a fun exercise. Obviously, everyone's going to have different views. I didn't go through the individual members to see where things were standing out. But I think that was, like, to your point, I think there were some of those DVC resorts have kind of that relaxed vibe, but people feel, what's the motto? What do they say at DVC? Like, welcome home. They kind of feel at home at those resorts. And, I know when we were debating it, some people pointed out some pictures that had some Disney touches and stuff like that. But I think, in our view, just compared to others, it didn't do it for us, but it does it for them. And that's what the vibe they're going for.
I would love to get this kind of questionnaire. Maybe we can clean it up. And I'd like to see if we can get this on the broader Disney Twitterverse, right? Maybe we do it so it's not as like you have to fill out a whole giant form, but like some like quick type of thing. Because I really would love to be able to cross check this vibe thing and seeing like how all the resorts rank based off of like vibe, location, pool, and like dining. Like pick like 4 of these things, but put vibe in there so it's not the main focus. And I'd love to see if this shakes out again where the top resorts are the top ones because it's a vibe check for the most part. Like you could have bad everything else, but like where the vibe sits kind of drives it the most overall thing. And maybe vibe's a neat like a I don't know, like a another word for like I just like really being here. I mean that's what vibe is, but it's an unmeasurable thing. Whatever.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of those feelings, like the theming and the kind of
it's a catch-all.
Yeah, that's
what I was kind of saying. All right, I think we are at 1 hour, Phil, and I think we could do this DBC engagement. So we're gonna have a little bit longer show. Let's push through it.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to push through it. People put time and effort into some of these things. So if you remember from, I don't even know when we announced this. This must have been like 3-ish weeks old at this point. That's when Fantasy Springs in Tokyo Disney Sea came out. And it's a fairy tale land. Go back and check out all the videos. Chris the Explorer had a very awesome video on it, and he's had many more since then. And it has a bunch of rides. There's a mixture of not just e-ticket, but like several smaller dark rides and stuff like that. Boat rides, beautiful environments, rock work, water flowing. It has a hotel that's connected to it. So we asked the community, what do we hope to see made in the new additions in the parks in the next decade? Here, stateside, mostly obviously in Walt Disney World. Thrill rides versus dark rides, boat rides versus trackless vehicles. What kind of ambiance, seating in the parks? What kind of kinetics? Do you want to see hotels? So like these are just kind of like, again, it's a vibe check of what we want to see essentially for Beyond Big Thunder and whatever addition they put into Hollywood Studios eventually, that type of thing. So Phil, you wrote a list here. I started writing a list, and I ended up just copying your list because we're 2 heads or 1 head on this. So why don't you go through your list?
Yeah. So the first 2 points are kind of more generic or kind of higher level. The big thing is that when we're thinking about, say, Beyond Big Thunder or wherever, I really want it to be an immersive land that has a theme. And I guess that's one reason why I'm glad the new Dino Land area is supposed to be the tropical Americas. It's not just one IP.
But Indiana Jones land.
Right. It is a component of it, right? Yeah. So you have a couple IP that are components of it that fit into that theme.
I'm with you on that one.
And that's why I think it works really well with Fantasy Springs.
No, I agree. I don't want to see like this is an area where it's all just Indiana Jones, or this is all Marvel, or it's all one thing. I'd like a world that you can explore and find different characters that you like in different places.
And then I definitely would like to see a mix of e-tickets, but also A to D tickets. I don't even know if they do A tickets anymore, but at least like C and D tickets. And other things just to do like while wandering around. And I put a comment here that I think Galaxy's Edge is close to this because it does have things where you can wander around and see, and it has the bounty hunting game stuff, but it's just not enough of that. And it doesn't have the C and D ticket really. It's kind of like it's in the right direction, that type of vibe. But kind of just maybe learn from that, but do it a little bit better.
I think Galaxy's Edge is super close. I just if the build a droid to build your lightsaber experiences weren't like so incredibly expensive, they had maybe a sit down restaurant in there. maybe you didn't have Rise or Falcon, but instead of 2 attractions instead of one of those, right?
Yeah.
So let's assume two Ds equals 1 E. I don't know if that's the case with the budget, but something like that. And maybe just a little bit bigger, so there's more walking around room type of thing, like that, and some shops. And then imagine if the Star Cruiser was just a regular hotel that was like attached there and stuff like that. That would be like a freaking home run that would have still been operating at this point if it was built.
And then as IP that I would like to see in there, again, as just one part of it, maybe I'm just jealous because it seems like every park around the world is getting some sort of really cool looking World of Frozen. The only thing is, though, I would like to see different ride types than what seems to be going in everywhere. So I don't know, something like Spider-Man, the Incredible Spider-Man that they have at Universal, I think could make like a cool sleigh like that. You really kind of makes you feel like you're sliding around and stuff like that. Or even like a shooter style ride where somehow everybody has the ice powers that Elsa has and you can actually like make it seem like you're shooting around. Those were the first ones that came to my mind. I just don't want it to be literal clones of whatever they build there. I don't want it to just be clones of what we've seen elsewhere.
Now, I mean, I'm going to disagree a little bit, but I don't have a lot of like oomph to this disagreement. To me, ride vehicle doesn't matter. So if they had another boat ride or another trackless ride or another what, the only thing I don't want to see is another roller coaster. We've been getting a string of a lot of roller coasters. Well, Tron and Guardians. And I'd like to see more dark rides, things I could take my kids on that aren't like stressful for the little kids and stuff like that. But again, ride vehicle really doesn't make a difference. And then the whole copy thing, like people are talking about, like there's that rumor that Rock Spring Racers was coming over to somewhere, Hollywood Studios or Beyond Big Thunder, and people are like, oh, why can't we have to get a copy? It's in Disney. Like, look, well, I'm not going out to Disneyland anytime soon. So if they're going to build like one of the best rides in Disneyland that people say is really awesome over here, I'm going to appreciate that. Not everybody gets to go to multiple Disney parks around the world. So I don't mind the cloning. The only thing that's bad about the cloning is there's no mystique behind it, right? There's no build up of like, what is it going to look like? What it's going to be amazing. Like, oh, it's Tron. Like we saw Tron. Here's how it is. It's great. I guess it doesn't build up the excitement for it as much, right? Why don't you like clones? What's your main factor for becoming?
I think it's probably that is that I just want it to be something different, and you can learn from it, and it can be something similar to it. I just think I don't know. It's like Walt said, you can't top pigs with pigs, right? So it's like you want to do something different. You don't want to just take it as is and move it over here. You want it to have its kind of its own vibe and that sort of thing. So,
but if they put like let's say one of these rides that's over in Tokyo is like super amazing. You wouldn't want that experience in Florida where you go vacation like once a year and eventually get.
Obviously, I'm going to ride it and I'm going to enjoy it, but I know, like, obviously, the big thing was they're talking about bringing the Pirates Shanghai ride system over here. But the thing is taking that ride system and retheme it to something else. So it's like leveraging what works great there, but making it its own thing. That I'm kind of on board with that. Versus just taking literally like this Frozen ride or this Tangled ride or whatever, just as is, and not adjusting it.
I mean, I agree to some degree, but like I want all original stuff, right? Whatever the IP or original idea or whatever. But I want Disney World to be unique and be the best.
And honestly, maybe if they're building a land and it has, say, 5 or 6 rides, if 1 or 2 of them are clones, I can live with it. I just don't want it to all be the exact same thing. You know?
You just said a land with 5 or 6 rides. We're not getting that. Come on, Phil. Come on. 5 or 6 rides? You think Disney makes billions of dollars? Come on. The one of the other things that I have that I said is like, I don't mind book report rides. Like, I want to take my kid through Peter Pan.
I don't mind that at all either.
I mean, I love how Tokyo has all the rides are book report rides. And the one thing that got everybody's attention from like some of the overseas rides are like the Beauty and the Beast reveal when the Beast turns into the prince, and the lantern scene in the Tangled ride. I mean, like, I want those moments because we have visceral, like a lot of people have visceral connections to those rides and those songs and those moments. People want to live them.
Yeah, I have zero issue with book report rides. Just do it well.
Yeah. And I think Disney has proven they can do it extremely well. And I think that's some of the backlash to Tiana's too. It's like some people wanted a book report ride. Again, I'm not going to be disappointed. Just if it's not going to be the story that we all know and love with all the music that we know and love, that we have emotional connection to, that we've been watching for decades with our children and our parents and everything else like that. Let's ignore all of that. If you're going to ignore all of that and want to put your own stamp on things, it better be good.
Yeah.
It better be really, really good. And then my only point, again, because I agree with everything that you say for the most part, is the land itself needs to be an attraction, right? I can't be like Hollywood Studios, where everywhere you're walking Hollywood Studios, other than Toy Story Land, Galaxy's Edge, it's just wide open, like transition space, right? It's the back. It was originally made to be a backlot type of thing. It just doesn't translate.
Yep.
I want more Animal Kingdom and less, Hollywood Studios. Let's put it that way, right? And I hope we get that. And they showed that you could do that at Disney or at Fantasy Springs. I'm going to do that forever. I'm going to represent at Disney Springs. What are some of the people in the community say? Phil?
Sure. So Mama Six said, mentioned about wanting to copy the ambience. I think a lot of what you're talking about, the idea, she mentioned the rockwork carvings and the water and the lights. So the idea that the land itself is part of the attraction. And that, I think things that kids especially, but everybody, I guess, can kind of climb around. Like, I know in Fantasy Spring, they have the Jolly Roger pirate ship that it's not really anything major. It's just this ship there that you can kind of climb around and walk around and check out, and people enjoy, like kind of having more things like that. She also mentions more family-friendly IP rides, how boats seem to break down less than trackless, like kind of just make them like good, reliable family rides. It doesn't seem like a crazy concept, right?
Not every ride needs to be a 2-hour wait every single day.
Exactly. And she does say having a like an adjacent hotel adjacent to Magic Kingdom would be incredible, perhaps with its own entrance into the park. But we'll see. Can't imagine what the room price would be for that. But
well, maybe we'll drive down the cost of everything else if everybody's going there.
That's true.
I doubt it, but okay.
Matt Pato said that he thinks some of Fantasy Springs will end up in Beyond Big Thunder. That's his prediction. Perhaps Arendelle, so Frozen Land, something like that.
Matt's a big fan of, like, when he went to Disneyland for the first time recently, like just going to all the storybook rides in Disneyland's Fantasyland with like Pinocchio and Snow White and everything. I think he's into that vibe right now, and that's what he wants to see going forward. Yep. He's with me on the book report, or he's with us on the book report type of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. T.L. Madden would like to see them change up Galaxy's Edge. He was kind of looking at how does he want to see it in the parks evolve over 10 years, not necessarily just new things, kind of re-evolve and reinvigorate Galaxy's Edge. Wants to see more quick turnaround on IP. So like rather than waiting a decade before something gets into the park, let's do something when, if something's popular now, let's do something now. That's
tough to do.
Would love to see a true Tangled attraction in the States. I think the easy one is to put the boat ride in Germany, but we'll see.
You just want more walls at Epcot.
Yeah.
That's just, all day.
It's just sticking with my anti-Epcot take, right? And then the last thing you mentioned, this was the last comment we had, was he actually wants more screen-based attractions. I think he's thinking about that black box idea that was floating around somewhere. Again,
like
the idea
pavilion
that
or something.
I forget it was in the Play Pavilion, or I don't even know if they said where it was going to be. But the idea is that you could kind of go in and with screens and stuff like that, it would be one thing, and then like 2 months later, it could be something else and that sort of thing. So it seems like he just wants things that change up a lot.
Why can't we just convert the Play Pavilion, whatever you want to call it now, into just a giant volume, right? And put those floor that you could walk but like not move on, that we just saw from the Imagineer that just won all the awards and stuff like that, and you just walk through like the desert or Hoth or I don't know, Disneyland while you're in Epcot or like anything, and just kind of be immersed in that. How much would that cost? That would be how much it's now that Disney owns part of Epic and everything else like that, it's got to be pretty cheap to build another like volume somewhere, right? It's only
that's true. If they could use the Epcot engine, I don't know, the Fortnite engine, that'd be interesting. The whole thing's just one giant, like you're in Fortnite.
Yeah, you just build like a bunch of different pods that you can walk through for a while. But they did say that floor that you can You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Floor you can walk on, but you don't move in any direction.
Yeah.
Was rather dangerous for first-time users, so I guess that's a
Yeah.
liability at this point. But I don't know. I just want to be in a volume.
Just
I
make
want
them
to
sign
that's
a waiver. It's fine.
Sign away your sprained ankles, please.
Just have the cast members when you enter the park, like really quickly, like the Micro Machine Man, say like, "And you agree?" Blah blah blah.
Yes. Give me the air conditioning, please. Okay, so what? You know what? We didn't. Maybe we could do this on the fly, Phil. I'm thinking in my head. We need DVC engagement for this week. I know you just asked everybody to fill out these forms. We just got to the Fantasy Spring stuff. So I think. What about this? What is where? Now that Test Track has walls around it. Where else would you put walls at Epcot right now? What else are you tearing down at Epcot and rebuilding? Would you do Spaceship? Would you sacrifice Spaceship Earth now just to get it out of the way for when, since Disney's going to be in low attendance next year because of Epic Universe potentially?
Yep.
Would you do it now? Would you rip the Band-Aid off and put more construction walls in the front of the park right now? Or would you do it in World Showcase somewhere? Where are you guys putting more walls? What do you think is a topic? Or do you have a better one? Because that one might
I think that sounds good. Yeah, I mean, we talked about that a lot, the change to Epcot. So we think that new things are happening, whether it's going to be at Imagination Pavilion or something else. What would you do next at Epcot after Test Track?
And you don't come up with stuff on your own. Like connect it with a rumor that you might have heard. It could have been a far-flung rumor, but don't make stuff up off the cuff, right?
Yeah, don't be like, I want 3 new pavilions or whatever.
I want a new country, because that's not rumored right now. A country is coming through. But I'll give you this: you would greenlight the UK pavilion as one thing that you would. If you want that, we could put that as because that's not rumored coming back at all. Right. But if that's your thing, you can have it, because that might be my thing.
Yeah,
that
or maybe just
how
about we do that? Of the things that didn't happen from Epcot, what's the one thing you would like them to do now?
I like it. That's done. Hopefully I can remember to put that in Discord in 15 minutes after we finish recording. Okay, everybody, thank you for watching and listening. Phil, I might have missed something, but I'm not asking if we did.
Usual social media. Find us all at the DBC Pod everywhere, and of course Discord.
Oh, we forgot to welcome Walt to Discord.
Oh, that's right. Yes, Walt's joined our Discord.
Yes. We don't know if it's Walt that just got a good Wi-Fi signal up in heaven, or this is somebody completely different. But thank you for joining Discord. Yes. Make sure you join the conversation. This show's going on long enough. Thank you if you're still listening and listening to my rambling. We appreciate it. And check us on YouTube as well. And you can watch my face get closer and closer to being tired as we go on and on. We'll see you next time.
Take care.